Alright folks, in this video we're going to be taking a look at a few of the other games that were requested, and that should cover most of the heavy games that this device can play. We're going to start with Red Dead Redemption 2, and I am going to be using the full screen experience with all the optimizations because I think some people might want to see that. There are some tweaks that are required for this as well that you can do because the full screen experience doesn't allow you to have custom shortcuts, so you need something like one launcher or something like that that you can get. I have it right over here. It's one of these widgets. So I do have one launcher, and this is a widget that you can get for the full screen experience that you can install, and then you can just add your own stuff. The reason I do this is because some of the games, well, a lot of these games require an always online connection, and that is not sustainable, as there are parts in my property where I don't get proper Wi-Fi. So then I need to patch them, and it's a real pain to do that. So you need shortcuts for that. So that I do that this way. But most of the stuff that runs offline via Steam, it's fine. So let's get into Red Dead. I think I have it open in the background here. That should give you an idea. So it's running over here. Let's just log in there. The test is going to be the same. I'm going to be running it at 75 watts powered, and then I have manually lowered the TDP for battery life tests and capped it at 40 FPS. So you get an idea of what you can get when you are playing on battery. This will have tests that are running full high without FSR, and then with FSR as well, so you get an idea. I would not recommend running anything without FSR because most of the games are not properly optimized.
Why don't you sit for a bit, Arthur?
Alright, so make sure the brightness is enough. Alright. I haven't played this game in a long time, so I may not remember what I'm doing. I should get back into it. So right now it's running at 88 frames per second. As you can see up, it's around 75 watts. The temperatures and the CPU, everything is up there. I can just, it's giving me a silly tooltip. Let me just get a little bit far ahead. So yeah, so there you go. So this should give you an idea of what you can see up there. Let me get into the graphics. So where are they? Okay, so this is running at native. You want to keep this at full screen because for some reason it only locks in at 48 hertz refresh rate if you don't use full screen. I have no idea why that is. This game is a little bit janky. So everything is at ultra. As you can see over here, FSR is off, and these settings are locked to native. So we're running everything at ultra, and nothing is changed. So we're getting 88 frames per second in a camp area. This is the open world. You're going to have a very good time with Red Dead. The really strange thing about this game is that when you use FSR, the performance doesn't seem to change all that much. So I'm going to show you what it's like with FSR. But the performance doesn't seem to change at all. I think it's pretty minor. And another quirk with this is that if you change your graphic settings during gameplay, this can tank the frame rate. So it can just tank it and lock into 35, 38 FPS for some reason. It doesn't happen all the time. I think it's got something to do with the drivers. So if you change graphic settings on the fly, it can have issues. Especially going from ultra to low. So I'm not going to do that right now. This one is for horse. I think he's further away. Alright, so let me put in FSR for people who may want to play this on battery mode. So FSR balanced. Let's apply that. So the difference is so marginal, maybe 1 or 2 frames, which is very, very strange. So I think FSR 2 on this is not really working, and Red Dead does not support frame gen, so you would probably want to use lossless or something. I guess that's the way to go. Now I'm going to plug it off and show you what it's like on battery mode, so you get an idea. So I have capped it myself at 25 watts. You can actually, put your own wattage that you want. You could run it at full speed if you want. So again, this runs fine at 40 FPS at 25 watts. And your battery time again should be 2 hours. So 1 hour 40 minutes, 1 hour 50 minutes. You can get more if you cap it to 30 FPS, but 25 FPS, 25 watts is the bare minimum. There's a dude there. Let me try shooting him. How do you shoot? Oh, there we go. No, I don't want to shoot him. I feel pretty bad killing people in this game for some reason. Alright, so that's Red Dead, and let's take a look at the next one. So this is Oblivion Remastered. Let me just load up my save. This is one of my favorites. The original version. The remastered is okay, but I prefer the original version because of mods. This does have one. It's not exactly a mod, but it has color grading on it, so it's not really much of a thing. Alright, there we go. So this is Oblivion Remastered, and this is in the starting area. The frame rate is pretty high, so we must have something on. Let me get into the system. Where is it? Graphics. Oh, awful. Alright, so the graphics, we have everything set to high. Lumen hardware ray tracing is off. Software ray tracing is at low. So we're going to turn off FSR because people would like to see it without FSR. This game has very good frame gen, but frame gen is off now. As you can see, none of that is on. And let's apply. So this is at high. This is what it, I think, detects at. So so this is running at around 40 to 50 FPS, and the reason for that is because this has forced ray tracing, so it has lumen and other stuff in it. That's a feature of Unreal Engine 5, and as I said before, you should not be playing these kind of games without FSR. You have to have FSR and frame gen to play these, because ray tracing and lumen by themselves are upscaled. They don't run natively on consoles. They don't, they're just not designed that way. So if you don't use FSR, or frame gen, you're going to have a very, very bad time, because those FX are by nature built to be run via upscaling. They simply, the power to run them at very high resolutions simply doesn't exist at this point, even with a 5090. So you have to use upscaling to some extent if you want to get that high FPS. So let me just go back to settings. Now I'm still keeping everything at a high. And this is with the hardware ray tracing off. So let's turn on hardware ray tracing on. And this is going to really show you how terrible Unreal Engine 5 is when it comes to this stuff. So we're just going to keep it at low. And anti-aliasing is at TSR, no upscaling at all. So there you go. Now you are basically in hell. It's not, it's just not usable. So ideally, the ideal settings for something like this, you want to turn off Lumen hardware ray tracing, but Lumen is still going to be on. You have to have Lumen with UE5, especially in this game, and I think Borderlands. And you can leave this. You can use FSR balanced, frame gen on. And there you go. You have a very smooth 104 FPS, and there is literally no delay that I can feel at all. So I would highly recommend you use FSR and FrameGen for a powerful hardware like this, because that's going to help with Lumen and RT. There's no way around it. I have a 5080 and it's still, you have to use it. And get into much combat. Let's try to attack this guy. Oh, I think I have a combat mod. And so let's go down to our battery test. Oh, I think I'm in jail. Let me just reload my game. I thought I could kill him, but apparently he just took me to prison. So let me just reload. Alright, so now we are in battery mode, and we're getting our 40 FPS with 2 hours and 20 minutes of battery life. But now I can feel a little bit of delay, and that is because of the frame gen. So for frame gen to work properly, you need very high FPS, and obviously in 25 watts you won't get that. And now I'm going to try and change it back there. So let's just go down here, and we can turn frame gen off. And if you want to see with FSR off as well, so everything off but graphics at high on battery, you will only get around 25, but this is capped, so I can change the wattage. If you want a demo of that, I have motion assistant open over here. So let's just say I want to be at 40 watts, right? I just click apply, and I've still capped my frame at 40. And now I can go back, and you can see I'm a lot smoother. I'm hitting 40 fully, and you can see I'm running at 40 watts. But I don't like to do that, because that's just going to kill your battery. You're only going to get 1 hour 40 minutes, which is actually 1 hour 20 minutes or 13 minutes or something like that. So I generally tend to keep it at 25 watts on battery with a cap of 40. There's no reason to mess with the core settings and stuff. It's not going to help you. So now when we're at 25 watts, what you would like to do or want to do is simply use upscaling and go to performance and apply. And you get a very, very stable 40 frames per second high with FSR on performance. It's almost impossible to tell the difference, but the game is simply very, very good to play. So 2 hours, pretty good. And if you have a second battery swap, so you can get 4 hours on a flight if you're flying. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so this is Avowed, and we're going to take a look at it. All right, so in Avowed, we are in a very, very densely populated area, and we are getting 73, 71 FPS. And let me just go into graphics and show you what we're... So the current profile that it's on high, everything is on high except view distance. That's the auto detect. So and this was with upscaling, so we're going to turn off upscaling, and we're going to put the profile on, let's say, maybe you want to see epic. So this is going to be a bad time. I'm not going to turn on ray tracing, because if you turn on ray tracing, this game will die. There's really, because it's an Unreal Engine 5 game again, there is really no reason to turn this on, because on this handle it's just going to die. So on Epic you can only get around 39. This is without FSR. Beautiful looking game, but it's not a good time, because you're gonna, I mean, it's okay, 36 frames per second, but So what you would want to do now is go to settings, and let's optimize this for our needs. So let's go in high and upscaling to the fidelity, performance, increase the sharpness 20, and apply. All right. So there we go. Now we're getting a smooth 65, 70 frames per second. It goes a lot higher. It just depends on the area you're in. So the place I'm in right now is the open world. Do some magic. Let me try and fight this bear. And of course I have missed poorly. This game is great. I'm very surprised at how good this game came out. Had a lot of unfair criticisms, but very good game. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is with FSR performance. We can put on balance as well. It does not support frame gen natively. And if you wanted to be a little bit more performance friendly, you can go medium. Again, it's at 75 watts. And I don't think the settings changed properly, because it's still hitting the same frame rate, which is 71 FPS and all that. So you may need to restart. But let's take a look at the battery performance of this thing. Capped at 40 FPS at 25 watts. So the wattage is decreasing, so there we go. Now we are at 40 FPS. And the game runs comfortably on high. You should not have an issue. Only thing, it uses a lot of power, so you only get around, well, the same, 2 hours. I think we could probably make it run way better on battery mode if we shift to ultra performance and low, just for a test. Of course the game is going to look pretty shitty, but your battery life is going to stay the same. So you could probably run this at 18 watts or so and not have a problem. But Avowed, Very good experience on the GPD Win 5 handheld. I'd highly recommend playing this game. And let's take a look at the next one. So this is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I have not played this game. It was on sale, so I picked it up. I just got it. But I did play Fallen Order. Very good game. It was good. Apparently this one is more graphically intensive. It had a problem running on a lot of systems. So hopefully it runs well on this. I did do the intro a little bit, so the intro so far looks good. Pretty smooth so far. This is the intro area, and let's just take a look at the graphics. And how do I do that? This is not... Oh, okay. I can't read those graphics because of the OSD. So everything defaults to medium, and it does have super resolution 2 on balance. So what we're going to do is, again, bad idea to turn this off, but we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to put the graphic quality to high. So everything is on high. Ray tracing is turned on by default for some reason. Okay. So with ray tracing turned on and everything high, no FSR, 75 watts, you get around 51, 52 FPS, which is actually pretty good with ray tracing on. I'm sure we can do a lot better. Now let's just turn on let's just turn on FSR because I want to see what it does, even though this is only FSR 2. So let's put on balance. It does not support frame gen at all. So on balanced, it does let you hit that 60 to 70 mark. Very, very impressive. And the game looks pretty amazing so far, graphically. Close to Star Wars Outlaws. I think Outlaws has that open world thing to it. So let me just turn it off again. Alright. Let's just turn off FSR. Because this is FSR 2 and it's not that great. It makes the game a bit blurry. You might want to use something like lossless scaling. So without FSR, with ray tracing on, it's a little bit of a bad time. And the game looks so beautiful that I wouldn't want to turn off ray tracing to play this. So I rather have a little bit of FSR, lossless frame gen, and it should be fine. So we're just going to turn it back on and see. I'm switching back and forth because I've never tried this game before. So, and it doesn't have a sharpness filter, so yeah, that's not good. Alright, let's turn it off and see. With ray tracing off, the game definitely looks plays better. It's at 82 frames, 87, but you're missing out a lot because I think ray tracing really adds a lot to this. So this is one of those games where you definitely want ray tracing to be on. Not in battery mode, but otherwise. So we're just going to turn it back on. Oh, this is going to be a while. Oh. Alright, so let's see here. I'll set this to performance. Yeah, so with FSR performance and ray tracing, you can hit that 70, 60, 70 mark. wow, this is pretty impressive. And I think on the videos, this handheld seems small, but it's not that small. I don't have anything on me to compare it to, but this is not a small handheld. I mean, my hands are very big, so it may look small, but it's not. The screen is 7 inches and surprisingly comfortable. Of course, people prefer 8 inches, but I'm okay with 7 inch at this point. And with the right color correction, you should not have much eye strain. But again, this is very impressive. And if you want to see battery mode, that with 25 FPS cap, I think you can hit 40. It's not an issue. Yeah. So 38, so let's just drop it down to medium so we get a stable frame rate. Let's put it to medium. Yeah, we're good. So you can get your 2 hours, 1 hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes of Jedi Survivor. You have medium and FSR to low. It shouldn't be a problem. Game looks good, runs stable. I would definitely play this on a battery. I actually regret not buying a second battery to swap, but I probably will. Also keep in mind, if you do decide to buy a second battery, make sure you buy the dock so you can charge that battery, because this requires a special dock if you want to charge it separately. You can't just plug it in. Alright, so let's take a look at the next one. Alright, so we're going to be looking at Starfield. This is my most played game. I think I played this more than I've played any other game this year, or even since launch. So let's just get to where should we load. Let me figure out where I should load. Alright, so I have no idea why we are on 40 FPS. That doesn't make sense. So for some odd reason, I'm not able to go above 40 FPS on this. This has got something to do with the Windows full screen experience, because this was not the case when I was playing it via the desktop. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. Maybe turn on resync. Nope. So for some reason, on full screen experience, Starfield is a little bit bugged out. So there's really no way to test this properly. You probably want to go to desktop mode, but it runs fine. I know it runs fine because I have played a lot of Starfield on this. You get way more than that. It's just unfortunate that this is occurring right now. Maybe if I disconnect and reconnect the power, that should work. That goes back to 40, and then let's just reconnect and there we go. Alright, so I had to reconnect it. This is something to do with my own settings. Maybe it's not the device. Alright, so in Aquila City, we add everything ultra, I think, or what's the setting here? Nope, wrong. So everything on ultra, this is the default ultra. So at default, it does do resolution scale. As I said, You can't get around it. There's going to be resolution scaling even at the default settings. So default ultra preset, you get around 40, 45. This is a very, very densely populated city. And the city is kind of brown, so that's not the screen, it's just how the city looks. But let's drop it down a bit, and we will try it with the FSR. So I can put FSR off, and you can see at Ultra how it goes. So you lose about 8 frames. And now let's try something more usable, which would be the high preset with frame gen on. FSR is on by default. So you get around 100, 140 FPS. And for Starfield, you kind of need frame gen. Even on 5080 or 5090, you kind of have to have some sort of frame gen. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good experience with this game. It's just how the game is designed, because it was made for an Xbox Series S on low graphics, but when it was targeting the Xbox, the Xbox Series X, and I don't think that can run this kind of a simulation. So now we're just going to turn off everything, and I can show you how it runs with that. So if we force FSR off, so there's no scaling now, everything is on high. So at Aquila, you're going to average 48 FPS. And that is not the system, it's just how the game is designed. So you probably are going to need FSR if you want to hit that 60 plus mark. But it's a good experience. So I'm just gonna try and go to medium and turn on the frame gen. See if we can get something around the 120 mark. So there we go. We're going above 120 at medium with frame gen on, and there is little to no input lag. I don't really feel it. Yeah. It's very hard to notice the input lag. I can't notice it much. Even if I turn off frame gen. Let's turn it off. No, there's no difference. Frame gen on and off, I mean, there's no real notable difference in latency. So you might as well keep it on. For battery, so I think you're just going to get what you were getting before. You'll hit 40 FPS quite easily on 25 watts at medium settings. Yeah, so there we go. We're at 40. So this is the heaviest place in Starfield, Aquila City. So you might hit 120 very easily on the outer areas if you travel to them. So again, you can easily do the 2 hours on your 25 watt or 1 hour 50. Pretty good experience. So that, I think that should cover most of the stuff that I wanted to talk about with this. So let's just go back to the menu. So after these tests, I can say I'm still pretty impressed with this device. This is probably one of the best portables I've bought this year, and I've bought a few of them. I do have an HX370 X1 Pro, which I did talk about in another video, and this one is, the chipset is simply way better. The form factor is simply way better because it's very comfortable to hold. I like the idea of the battery swap. I think that concept is very cool, and the Apex, which is supposed to come out, is probably going to have this as well. Like, it does have this. I've seen the photograph, so it does have a battery swap. It has a bigger screen, but I think I'm fine with this screen size for what it is. You know, something portable, and it's very light once you take off the battery pack. The only complaint I have is that the major complaint with this handheld is not the hardware, it's the software. I simply don't think that this is whatever they're doing with this full screen experience is not, it's not there yet. It needs a lot of work. So let me give you an example. So if this is the performance metric, right? And if I wanted to use this, I can't just simply stick it. I have to use a combination button, or I need to get out of compact mode, which is a mode over here. And once you do that, it lets you again go through stuff. Oh well, okay, I'm lost. Never mind. So this just goes haywire. This is not ready yet. So let's see, now I can't even go anywhere. Great. I think I'm lost now, so forget. So the next video I'm going to do is, it's going to be about some of the BIOS setup, the first BIOS setup that you may want to do, may not want to do. It's risky, so it's up to you. But also about screen collaboration and just general setup tips that you'd want to do if you're going to be using Windows. And I think that should about cover it. So if you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it. But thank you for watching.